which last time I checked had nothing to do with tax. And top universities have implemented racist exam rules. And of course it's all in the name of inclusion. Maybe they should stop including racism though. I'm Leo Kearson. Tonight I've got tip-top comedians Lewis Schaefer and Adam Kumas taking you through Sunday's top stories. This is Headliners. But before we go through Sunday's news, let's go to tonight's headlines with Aaron Armstrong.
Thanks, Leo. Very good evening to you. Our top stories. Israel has prevented thousands of displaced Palestinians from returning home to northern Gaza after accusing Hamas of breaching the ceasefire deal. 4 female Israeli soldiers were released by Hamas earlier and reunited with their families after being held in Gaza for 15 months. However, Israel says Arbel Yehud, a civilian, remains in captivity. Under the terms of the deal, Hamas was to release civilians before soldiers. Hamas, though, says she is alive and will be freed next week. Well, despite the dispute, Israel released around 200 Palestinian prisoners from jail earlier, prompting scenes of jubilation in the West Bank city of Ramallah. However, 70 of those convicted of the most serious crimes are being deported to Egypt before travelling on to neighbouring countries, including Qatar and Turkey. This is the second release of hostages to take place since a ceasefire deal was agreed last Sunday. Around 90 hostages are still being held in Gaza. New details have emerged about how the Home Office missed several opportunities to identify the Southport child killer Axel Rudakabana as a terror threat. The Sunday Times claims a review has found Rudakabana was referred to an anti-extremism program 3 times, but his obsession with mass shootings was dismissed by counter-terrorism officers as an interest in world news, and he was deemed not to be in danger of being radicalised. On Thursday, the 18-year-old was sentenced to a minimum of 52 years for the murders of 3 girls in a knife attack in Southport last year. More on that in our news programmes throughout the evening and tomorrow. Now, a 14-year-old has been charged with the murder of Birmingham schoolboy Leo Ross, who was stabbed in a country park on Tuesday. The youth, who can't be named because of his age, was arrested around 4 hours after 12-year-old Leo suffered fatal injuries on a riverside path in the Hall Green area. He's also been charged with 7 other offences, including possession of a bladed weapon. Leo's family have released a statement describing him as an amazing, kind boy who was loved so much by everyone. 3 teenagers have died and a 4th man suffered life-threatening injuries after a car hit a tree near Wakefield in West Yorkshire. They were travelling near the village of West Breton when it left the road and crashed on Friday night. The 18-year-old driver and 2 19-year-old passengers died at the scene. 2 other men in the car were taken to hospital, one of whom is in a critical condition. 2 new weather warnings for snow and ice have come into effect for Northern Ireland and large parts of Scotland as the clear-up after Storm Éowyn continues. Extra engineers have been drafted in to help restore electricity across Ireland. Hundreds of thousands of people on both sides of the border were still without power earlier this evening. Meanwhile, travel services remain severely disrupted in Scotland, with trains and ferries suspended and roads closed. ScotRail has advised the disruption on trains will continue into Sunday. More than 40,000 customers in Scotland are still without power. Some will have to wait several days to be reconnected. Well, that is the latest from the GB newsroom. Now it's back to Headliners.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thank you, Aaron, and hello and welcome to Headliners, your first look at tomorrow's top stories with 3 tip-top comedians. I include myself in that. Let's kick off with a look at some of the front pages. The Sunday Express has National Show of Unity over Tax Disaster. That's the farmers' protest. The Sunday Times has Southport, the fatal errors. And the Mail on Sunday has Strictly stars vile sexual jab to dancer. That's jab as in something that's said. He didn't make a sexual jab in her direction. That'd be much worse. Let's have a look at those, starting with the Sunday Express, this protest by the farmers, Lewis.
Yeah, this is in the Sunday Express. It's a national show of unity over tax disaster. Farmers lead protest across the UK with the retail giants joining call for restraint. I mean, this is in the Daily Express, and they like the farmers, and they're conservative and reform and Tories, whatever. And I think people are a bit fed up with what's going on. It has to do with the taxes of the taxing farmers when they die. So
yeah,
people are going to lose their farms.
They're putting up inheritance tax on farms. But, I mean, farms are something that's passed down through the generations. They're custodians of the land. They look after it. They're part of the community. And if you tax them into oblivion, they're going to have to sell their farms. And then where are we going to get our food from? Well, they're going to sell the farms to BlackRock. They're going to sell their farms to Chinese sovereign wealth funds and people who don't really care if British people can live or die.
They do not care, and I'm going to say it right now. The Labour and the Tories too. They want British people dead. They want them dead.
We might need some balance for Ofcom here.
Well, you say the balance. I'll say this: if you destroy people's food, you want them dead.
I'm not sure if they want us dead. They just want us in pain.
Yeah, I think there's a saying, isn't there? What's the saying? Don't bite the hand that feeds you. It's quite literal in this case. I don't know. It's very sad. I mean, I wish all the best to the farmers. There's certain people that you feel like shouldn't be attacked, and farming, the people who literally feed us, would be one of them. You know?
And also, it's for such a small amount of money. I mean, it would fund, Keir Starmer's migrant hotels for about 47 minutes. It's ridiculous.
That's why the Labour wants these people dead. And it's always this way with Adam. You're always like so sanguine about the whole thing. Why do they want to do this?
I don't know what sanguine means.
I think it means you're putting. Maybe your head is in the sand, but you can't imagine why they would want to do it, because the Tories hate British people.
Well, the Labour.
I get them confused, the Tories and the Labour.
And also, we've seen in history the far left. Not that I'm saying, the Labour Party are entirely far left, but they certainly have some extremely far left elements. Whenever the far left get into power and start messing around with farmers, like Stalin, taking the farms off people, Mao implementing all these ridiculous rules, sending people to work on the farms, it always results in famine and starving. It's almost as if central government doesn't know how to feed people, and they should just leave the market to do it, leave the farmers to do it.
And you do not think, you do not think that Labour, that Starmer doesn't know the atrocities of Stalin against the Ukrainians, which I think they're in the news right now, aren't they?
For the last couple of years.
So they know exactly what they're doing. So you apologise to people, Adam.
No. I mean, if you'd listened to me, Lewis, I said I was very much in for the farmers. So I think we're agreeing on that.
Yeah.
In maybe to give a little bit of balance, there is a ham-fisted argument to be said that maybe they're trying to curtail the likes of certain individuals, let's say James Dyson, funneling money into farms in order to protect their inheritance, and maybe Jeremy Clarkson. But as Clarkson even pointed out himself, they'll be fine. They'll find loopholes around it. They'll put it into a trust and everything else.
Exactly.
So it's a very ham-fisted approach, and it does affect the salt earth people who are actually here to...
Absolutely. So it's not going to affect the people they're targeting, but it is going to affect the people they shouldn't be targeting. It's disgusting. Moving on to another disgusting story, Adam, we've got Southport looking at the fatal errors that led to the horrific attack.
Yes, so this is obviously the very unfortunate story that's continuing to unfold. We're getting so many new reports, it feels like every other week now. This is basically highlighting some of the fatal errors that were made in the run-up to the horrible attack, and it seems to be that there was the counter-terrorism officers believed that this attacker, I'm not going to use his name, I don't want to give him any more airtime, but had an interest in extreme sort of violent videos. He was watching them online. There was Amazon parcels being delivered with sort of suspicious sort of activities, and he'd also been taken a knife previously into school. So this was a bad, mentally deranged person. And it seems like the authorities were aware of all of this stuff, and they still gave him the freedom to do what he did.
Yeah.
And so it's it's disgusting that it was allowed to happen.
Yeah, and it seems we've seen over the past few years how Prevent and the government agencies that deal with extremism and horrific people such as this, quite often they focus on this sort of mythical far right, and they focus on things like saying that reading Lord of the Rings is a warning sign of far right radicalisation. When I'm pretty sure nobody's read Lord of the Rings and done anything horrific apart from being boring at a party. So, this should maybe refocus the government's eyes where they should be focused.
How could you say that, Leo? How could you say that when the truth is they're saying it's, he's been radicalized? Like
they're not saying he's been radicalized. They're saying he just had a sort of. They're saying he had a fascination with murder and death and genocide, and they're very careful to say he had no particular. There was no particular ideology behind it. I'm not sure I believe that.
Okay, neither do I. That's my point. The point is that we're at war. We're at war, and this is one soldier, and you're going into the battlefield, and you're saying, we got to find out why that soldier over there is shooting at us. When they all could shoot at us, they all probably will shoot at us someday. And we need as Angles and Saxons and Jutes, or the defenders of the Cornish and the Celts, or the Picts, we've got to say, you know what, I don't know. I don't even want to say it.
We're not going to stand for this anymore.
We're not going to stand. We're not going to stand.
That was a really good ride up until the last 2 seconds.
I was just trying to work out Lewis as a Jute or a Pict.
I'll be Googling both of those during the break.
Brooklyn Pict.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm not those things. But somebody needs to stand up for those things.
Yeah.
Someone needs to say, you know what? This guy is not a bad guy. They're all bad, or a lot of them bad, or some of them might be worse than others.
Can we touch on the interesting story of the UK has first dibs on Greenland? I think that's quite funny.
I love this story. I love this story because apparently, so Denmark, Trump wants to get Greenland and is making overtures to Denmark saying, if we buy Greenland, if we can't buy Greenland, we're going to take it anyway because we're bigger than you. But apparently, by international law, the UK's got first dibs.
I love that.
We have to have the first offer. Not that we could afford to buy it anyway, but we get the first.
No, oh my God, I'm in such a bad mood today. I want to apologize to the audience. I'm like in a very grumpy mood.
Lewis, this is an inspirational moment. You saw how we took back the Falklands.
You know
we
what?
Could do that with
you know
Greenland.
what? Because we had English people there. I've seen the video of that really nice woman talking about Greenland, and they're not English. The fact is America has been so nice to Canada and so nice to Greenland that they never thought that there's this huge country is going to come over and take over. People who are living next to Russia don't think about Russia that way. And basically, we as, when I'm an English person, take America for granted. The whole thing is laughable.
I genuinely
England can't even take care of itself. They're giving away.
Stop insulting us, Lewis.
But it's true.
Jesus. I genuinely think if Denmark are smart, they will take up that opportunity to sell Greenland to us, and we will buy that. And if they're very smart, well, in a few years, we'll end up giving it back to them and pay them for the privilege. So win-win.
No, if England were really smart, we would buy Greenland from the Danish people.
Literally what Adam said.
Right? No, but then I would say that then England, Britain, Anglo-Saxons and Jutes then sells it
back to
America to make some money.
So we get a deal.
We make money.
I like that.
That is quite a stereotypical thing to say, Lewis. Moving on, we've got the Mail on Sunday with the Strictly Stars vile sexual jab to dancer.
This is in the Daily Mail, which is $2.20 tomorrow on a Sunday, and it's a lot of news you get for $2.20, and you get a couple of magazines too. I like the Daily Mail. But months after Wyn Evans was embroiled in BBC groping furor, how do you pronounce the furor? Furore. Mail on Sunday catches him on video making sick spit roasting remark. Strictly spit roasting.
This sounds like it's just a joke. It sounds like it's a crude comment. The sort of crude comments that we were just making in the locker room and slapping each other with towels.
But even if it's serious, I've got hundreds, if not thousands, of hours making these kind of remarks. And I've actually
it makes everyone very uncomfortable behind the scenes.
Yes, it does.
Do you think they're just going around now, Adam, and just taking out everyone? Just taking out any sort of middle-aged man?
Like, look, I've been around these sort of people, and people make these sort of jokes all the time. And I guess because I'm a slightly younger generation, I'm a bit more sort of PC, so I wouldn't make those sort of jokes in public. You know, I make them privately in WhatsApp chats or Xbox Live chats when I was a teenager. I don't do them in public, and I think these guys just need to be a little bit more careful with what they're saying.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
No, they don't. Maybe they do, but this highlights the fact that the BBC has got to go.
Okay.
Either way, everybody who's bad is working for the BBC, which means that they're a criminal organization, or they've
got to get on with the show.
It's not exactly the worst thing the BBC's ever done. I think if anything, it shows that the BBC is improving because they've moved from Jimmy Savile to just jokes.
They're not
overcresting.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Anyway, let's have a look at the next lot of front pages. The Observer has moved closer to Europe, not Trump, says Starmer. I don't think he knows that Britain can't actually move. The Telegraph has Reeves at war with Labour blockers. Somebody's been in the toilets there after eating too much Christmas pudding. And The Sun has Holly's kidnap bid tears. Let's have a look at those stories. They've got the Observer, Adam, with a move closer to Europe that voters are telling Starmer.
Yes. So this is a story, basically, according to a new poll. And I love polls because whenever every poll, there's a corresponding poll saying the opposite. According to this particular poll by a left-leaning magazine, newspaper, they're sort of saying people in the UK would rather see closer ties to Europe rather than America. Now, on the surface level, that might make sense. You know, maybe things like food. Maybe it's easier to get food shipped over from somewhere in Europe rather than across the sea with chlorine in it. So maybe that's good. But also, it makes sense to stay friends with, you know, the big dogs across the pond.
The best country in the world.
Well, exactly. You know, the one with the biggest economy and ones that we share a lot of common Western values with, and one that we should not be looking to antagonise.
Yeah, absolutely. You know? One that can take Greenland. I mean, imagine if they took Scotland.
I mean, after us, we have first dibs.
Imagine how great that would be for Scotland. But also, I mean, Starmer and Labour and the Tories, to be honest, have had a while to sort of work out some sort of, beneficial trade deal with Europe. And they haven't done it with Europe. They haven't done it with China. They need to do it with America, basically.
Well, first of all, Europe is not our friend. People in this country, they love Europe. They think, oh, nice French cheeses and German beers and whatever. So they've got very warm feelings. They don't think, like, American food and stuff is as good as it might be, but it's cheap. It's cheap. And the fact is, British people have no money anymore.
Yeah,
no money. And who's going to defend? Who's going to defend Europe?
We've
Maybe
got to forget
America.
about the Marks and Spencer's food hall and think more Lidl. That's what you're saying.
Well, you know what? Lidl at least is cheaper, and I think people can't afford stuff anymore.
But Lidl's German, so that goes against your point.
The average Anglo-Saxons or Picts who are living, anybody who's living in this
country. We're going to have a bingo card now. Every time you say the word Picts or whatever.
We've got the Sunday Telegraph here with Reeves at war with Labour's blockers. This is sort of reminiscent of Stalin's. Stalin was always complaining about blockers who weren't letting him do what he wanted to do and were slowing down production in the factories, and then he'd kill them all, and then production would fall even further.
Well, do you know why this is? This is Rachel Reeves, who is she's the account girl from Accounts, Rachel from Accounts. Why are you laughing at that? That's like such an old joke already. Anyway, she thinks, first of all, Labour thought everybody believes what Labour believes, and now they're in office, and nobody gives a damn about Labour, okay? And I think, and they're wondering, why are we being blocked? Whatever blocked mean. You pointed out it was some kind of Stalin-esque kind of term, and they just think that the people in the left, because they're not as committed as we are, because maybe they want to get re-elected.
Well, I think they're finding what Labour found, what the Tories found over 14 years, is that bureaucracy gums up everything and stops anything happening. And Labour have got some quite radical ideas, like building on green belts, and that's being some of their ideas are being stopped by bureaucracy. And some of those ideas should be stopped by bureaucracy, to be honest.
Labour should not only be stopped by bureaucracy, people should look at America and say, we're only 4 years away from every one of these people being totally pushed out.
Like what happened to the Democrats in America.
That they're laughable.
Yeah, completely.
Risible.
Anyway, that's the front pages done. Still to come, why Starmer's beef with Trump is bad for Britain, what videos influenced the Southport killer, and why Wes Streeting thinks Farage is like Starmer. This is Headliners, only on GB News.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
According to a report from the RAC, many drivers see speed limits as a target rather than anything else. More than 50% of us think it's acceptable to break the speed limit.
So this morning we're asking, is it time to increase the motorway speed limit?
Let's talk to automotive journalists Danny Kelly and Steve Fowler. Gents, what a pleasure to speak to you both in one go.
I think we should join many countries in the European Union that have 130 kilometres speed limit, which is around about 81 miles an hour. I drive to London on a weekly basis, and I think the roads are capable of handling higher speeds. I think unofficially the speed limit, without getting pulled over by the local police at the time, is probably around about 78, 80 miles an hour. If a Bobby's on the motorway doing 70 miles an hour, he wants you to overtake him. He wants the free-flowing of that motorway to continue.
So should we change 70 miles an hour? You know, if people are going 80 miles an hour, just stick to 70 miles an hour as a limit. Yes, you know, it's funny when you're driving along the motorway and there's a police car going at 70 and nobody wants to overtake. But if the average is 80, just leave it at 70.
All the gantries now are fitted with the modern signage where they can change the limit at will. We all know that. It's hard to get up to 70 half the time. So, actually, we could apply those rules, couldn't we, at 80 or even 90 miles an hour and say, well, if the weather's bad, let's reduce it. If the fog's bad, let's reduce it.
Yeah, unfortunately, and I hate to use this phrase, smart motorways, but they're the ones where you have the adjustable limits. They don't cover all of the motorway network, relatively small amount of the motorway network. It is a limit. You know, it's not a target, as I keep saying to my kids. God, they're bored of me saying that.
GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
It's been spit roasted.
Welcome back to Headliners. We've got some comments from YourSay. What was that one you just read out? You look like...
No, don't say that. Don't say that. The BBC got into trouble for having...
Spit roasted by Leo and Adam. No, we're not going to read any more of that. That was clearly talking about some kind of barbecue. Anyway, kicking things off in this section with the Sun on Sunday, and with Reform triumphant in the polls, Labour have bizarrely tried to attack them for being miserabilists. This is a bit like the pot calling the kettle black. Lewis?
That is totally true. This is the Sun on Sunday. How much is the Sun on Sunday? I think it's only £1.80 is the Sun. I don't know if they got... Do they have the pretty girl?
Tell us the story.
West Streeting tears into miserabilist Nigel Farage as... Is it Reform or Reform?
Reform.
Both as work. Reform soars in the polls. And this is a double article because it's double one. It's saying West Streeting, who's the health secretary, and he says that the Reform is talking to the populist. And they're trying to take away the populists.
Well, they seem to be just straight up lying about Reform. They say that Reform have a miserabilist, declinist vision for Britain's future,
which is the other way around.
Which is the opposite, Adam. I mean, the Reform, Farage and Tice offer a sort of positive, pro-business, a Britain of growth.
Almost like Donald Trump.
Yeah, exactly.
So I want to be for me, this story is very interesting. So I just want to get out first and say I'm a fan of West Streeting because of the ban he put through on puberty blockers in the NHS. I think that's
because otherwise you'd be a woman right now.
I mean, there's still hope, But
there's not enough drugs available.
So you've got to give him credit for credit due in terms of getting that done. That wasn't done during the Tory leadership, right? However, he seems to be more attack on his attack. He seems to be more Nigel Farage and just saying, "Oh, you're being miserable" and everything else. And I think, look. And he did say, like, we need to like restore hope in our country by improving the NHS and stuff. Who knows what they can do in 5 years? If they can do that, maybe, I don't know.
They can't do it. They can't do it.
Yeah, nothing Labour do or say is restoring hope in the UK. If anything, people have lost hope in the UK. I mean, look at the rape gang scandal. Look at the Chagos Islands. There's literally everything Labour say and do is just winnowing Britain away to nothing.
Because they are on Labour is on the wrong side. So of course you're going to say they're on the wrong side. The guy's being miserable because he's not saying, "Wow, Labour's doing a great job."
Yeah, that's a good point.
Labour is horrible.
Anyway, the Eye, just for balance, I'd like to say Labour is wonderful and what a fantastic job they're doing. The Eye weekend now, and Labour's catastrophic relationship with Trump is going to be bad for Britain. And right now, we need something that's good for Britain, Adam.
Yes, absolutely. So this is from the Eye weekend. The headline reads: Starmer and Trump's not so special relationship spells trouble for the NHS and security. So this is basically Trump's back. Trump's back with a bang. He's done a lot of big things. He's threatened, first of all, to pull out of NATO if people don't start paying up. There's potentially like he signed the most amount of executive orders in history, within the first day. There's a potential free trade deal with the US on the tables. Basically, and he's withdrew America from the World Health Organization. A lot of big things have happened.
And he didn't invite Starmer to the inauguration.
And that's no surprise, considering what
it is
Starmer
a surprise.
did. Not considering what Labour did, sending people over against Kamala. That's to be expected, isn't it?
They sent over 100 Labour staffers to campaign against Donald Trump, which is just such an own goal. I mean, considering Britain needs allies, and traditionally America has been such an ally because we've been the conduit between America and Europe because we know the French and the Germans, but we also speak English. So it's absolutely, it's ridiculous.
It isn't an own goal. What do you think? You think Donald Trump would, if Starmer hadn't done this, Donald Trump would go, "Oh, we love Labour"? No, he hates Labour because he sees how evil
But imagine Tony Blair. Do you think Tony Blair would have fumbled the relationship with America this badly?
Then Tony Blair was way more evil because he got all those horrible things through because he didn't seem as evil. But the truth is that Trump knows how bad Starmer and how the rest of them
Trump likes people who like Trump, and I think most people. Most people. You like me, scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. He's very simple, and if we showed that with our previous government, unfortunately, that we were going to try and sabotage it seemed like, and we're paying the price.
This article,
Well, the good thing is that the Trump administration look like they're going to use diplomatic pressure and trade deals and everything to force Europe and to force the UK to be free, to enforce freedom of speech and to stop, arresting and locking up political prisoners. So it could be great for the UK.
It is great for the UK because the UK, you hate this. I love this country. Do I love this country? I love this country.
Bits of it.
A lot of it, I love it. But right now, the UK is poorer than Mississippi, which is the poorest state in America.
And it's not sunny and warm like Mississippi.
And that's speaking.
It's easier to spell as
how
well.
How poor are those people out in Nottinghamshire and Norfolkshire, wherever these places are? So it's poor. The UK is irrelevant. And that's what Donald Trump is showing to the British people, that Starmer and the Labour Party are dragging the country way down.
That's a declinist vision. And I think the UK could have an amazing century in front of it. We've got the Sunday Telegraph now, and the government is removing material from the internet that might have inspired the Southport killer. But as he quoted anti-white far-left ideology, are Labour going to have to remove their own manifesto as well, Lewis?
Well, in a way, they are anti-white. Yes, they are. Yeah.
No, they're very woke. Elements of Labour are extremely woke and have spoken out in favour of critical race theory. Keir Starmer and Angela Rayner took the knee for BLM. So
the hatred of white. Anyway, so this is another one of the irrelevancy of it, because basically the guy who killed those people, he was looking at Islamic terror attacks on the bishop in Australia. He illegally downloaded an Al-Qaeda.
Don't say Al-Qaeda. It's Al-Qaeda. Goodness sake, Lewis.
Al-Qaeda manual. And so what it's saying basically is. What was the question?
The tech giants should need to be held more accountable and removed.
Yeah, of course they do, because they're free speech people. And Labour and the Tories are also, they're against free speech. They think no one should hear anything. And if no one hears anything, everything would be okay. But the truth is, even if people don't hear anything, the country's going to
I mean, I think people are focusing on certain... I've seen people on the left focus on... there was somebody, Joe Grady on Newsnight, said, oh, he's clearly inspired by online misogyny. The thing is, Axel Ruda-Cabana looked at so much stuff online and so many vile and horrible things that people can pick and choose. And I think... I think we're all kind of guilty of that. Some people have said, well, look, he looked at Al-Qaeda training manuals. That must be his thing. Yeah. Maybe it's true that he is just an evil person who was inspired by all evil and all brutality. Yeah. But the fact that he said Britain needs a white genocide, that seems a straight-up declaration of racial war. And it seems that he's got racist intentions. Yeah. But we're not focusing on it because the establishment only looks at racism when it's white against brown.
I think there's something to be said about, let's say the Al-Qaeda manual is out there. There needs to be something said about, look, OK, let's say it is out there and everybody has access to it, everyone can read it. There's one thing to read something where you know it's in existence. There's another thing to act upon it. I think there's a big cultural thing we need to address as a country. Why do we have people who are not only accessing these knowledge, but then acting upon it? Yeah. I think there's a big cultural shift underneath there. Do we feel one as a nation? Do we feel united? Or do we feel like we're fighting within each other?
That is the typical Adam Kumas answer to everything. It's like, we got to find out what the story is. Why is this guy doing it? They're doing it because the whole world is at war. It's at war. Whether it's, it may not... you can't even discuss it.
And also, it seems, for all they talk about community cohesion, Britain had a stable, high-trust, cohesive society, and then they're like, oh, no, we need multiculturalism. Yeah. Why do we need multiculturalism? Where has it been a shining success story? I mean, apart from places like America, where, the guiding light is you're American first and, cultural second. In Britain, people aren't British first. Nobody's, we don't bring people and force them to
swear to Britishness.
Yeah, and put the milk in second. It's ridiculous. We're not a proud nation like America is. If you look at Syria, Lebanon, all the places, the Balkans, all the places that had multiculturalism, it ended in intertribal warfare and genocide.
Don't talk to Adam, because he has no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, God, Lewis.
I mean, he's a very smart guy, but you could be
This is because I refused to... this is before I refused to give you a massage behind the scenes, wasn't it? That's what this is about.
It's like the Strictly Come Dancing
so bizarre
expose all over again. Anyway, we've got the Observer before the break who say that they've got the real reason Elon Musk has got involved in British politics, and it's to do with tech regulation. Yeah, it's definitely tech regulation. There's no way he could genuinely be angry about tens of thousands of British girls being raped.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one from The Observer. So the headline reads, Elon Musk's beef with Britain isn't only about politics, it's about tech regulation. Now, this is regarding the Online Safety Act, which was passed by the Tories in 2023. It was watered down, and the argument from The Observer is saying that he is deliberately trying to put these stories out and criticise the Labour government to sort of hide from the fact that if the Online Safety Act is passed through, which is supposed to be coming through, and these regulations coming in this year, it might mean huge ramifications for X if they're not complying, including fines and things of that nature. So, I think genuinely when I see Elon Musk, I think his anger with what's happened is genuine. I think it's kind of hard to fake that sort of thing. Is it true that he might also, on another case, be concerned about the Online Safety Act in the UK? Possibly.
Yeah. I think he'd be ideologically opposed to the Online Safety Act, as any free-thinking person should, because it's a horrific piece of legislation that will completely backfire and gum up the internet and allow the government to go after whoever they want. And they already like being able to go after whoever they want. And also, if billionaires and millionaires getting involved in British politics and European politics is so evil, why were none of these people complaining when George Soros was pumping millions of euros into NGOs to destabilise Europe and destabilise Britain anyway? It's not very fun stuff for going into the break, but anyway.
It is fun. It is fun. And you know what? We as English people, I think the English people should be happy. Somebody that famous, that rich and powerful is interested in England.
Yeah, it's like when Mariah Carey comes here for a show. It's like whoa, we're important. We're on the map.
Exactly.
Anyway, still to come, why the police say the migrants outside schools is just a cultural issue, why civil servants get a day off each week to promote gender ideology, and racist university exams. See you in a moment.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast. More showers to come across Cyprus this weekend, although it does look drier by Monday. There's more wet weather to come across parts of Spain and Portugal too. There are those showers clearing by Monday. Plenty of fine and sunny weather over the central Mediterranean. Good-looking day on Sunday across Sicily and Sardinia. Some sunshine for the Balearics, but more rain heading into southern Spain and Portugal. Plenty of sunshine in the Canaries this weekend, and things are warming up into the mid-20s on Monday in Tenerife.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good evening. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. It's going to stay quite changeable over the next couple of days, with some outbreaks of heavy rain and some showers and some strong winds too, although there will perhaps be some glimmers of sunshine in the middle. We have this weather front situated out to the west of the UK at the moment. That pushes its way eastwards through the rest of this evening, bringing some quite heavy downpours, particularly to parts of northern England and Scotland, and this perhaps turning to sleet and snow over any high ground. Some outbreaks of showery rain across parts of Wales and England, but this generally a little lighter and more scattered than further north. Some clear skies developing behind, and that will likely turn those temperatures quite chilly overnight, dropping below zero across parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland, so there may be some ice around to start on Sunday. It will be a bit of a cloudier start, though, across parts of Wales and southern England through Sunday morning. We've got this area of heavy rain arriving across the very far southwest, so a damp start to the day for Devon and Cornwall. For parts of Northern Ireland and southern parts of Scotland, a dry and bright start to the morning with some sunshine around. But further north, there will still be some showers, and again, these likely falling as sleet and snow, mainly over the high ground, but perhaps to lower levels for a time. As we then go through the rest of Sunday morning, that area of rain pushes its way northwards, spreading across much of the UK by the time we get to the afternoon. Some quite heavy downpours likely, and some blustery showers following in behind on that brisk southwesterly wind. That southwesterly wind does draw in some slightly milder air, so temperatures in the far southwest turning a little milder, 9 to 11 degrees, but elsewhere around about average, so 6 to 8 degrees quite widely. To start on Monday then, we have got low pressure across the UK, so heavy blustery showers still feeding in from the southwest. These likely to merge to longer spells of rain across northern parts, and plenty of showers as well across the far north of Scotland. So an unsettled start to the new working week, and that theme continues through much of next week. However, there are some hints that we'll see high pressure building and turning a little bit chillier by next weekend.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Bev Turner. Thank you for joining us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. We've got the Sunday Express now, and in the aftermath of one child rape scandal, should Labour be careful about another one? Asylum seekers are reported loitering outside schools and possibly taking photos as well, Adam.
Yes, so this is from the Sunday Telegraph. The headline reads, asylum seekers loitering outside school is a cultural issue, say police. So this is residents based in North Hampshire have raised concerns about the behaviour of migrants living in a hotel near a primary school, and the police are basically saying, oh, this is like basically a cultural issue and things like that. But basically what's happened is there's groups of men who are loitering outside schools, outside primary schools, filming, taking photos of children. Now, I want to sort of just hear me out for a second. I think if we remove the idea of it's migrants and stuff, and we just put any blokes, any men hanging outside schools, filming and stuff, you'd be like, what on earth is going on?
Yeah,
we should be stopping this.
Why don't the police just pretend that they're white?
Yes.
And then that'll allow them to deal with them instead of saying, oh no, we must appoint a community leader and be soft touch and say, oh no, we need cultural education.
It's horrible behaviour no matter who's doing it, and it just happens to be these guys, but we should fix it and take it seriously.
Yeah, and also this is driven by the Labour Party's policies. bureaucracy. So they've got Operation Scatter. They're moving asylum seekers who, most asylum seekers, as we know, aren't actually seeking asylum. They're just coming here because they want to come here for whatever reason.
And they want paperwork.
For economic reasons. Yeah, for economic reasons or whatever.
But they want the paperwork. That's why
And they used to sort of accumulate in cities that were already Labour-leaning. Now Labour have got the idea of moving them out around the country to Tory constituencies.
To torture
that's going to long-term tilt the balance in Labour's favour at the ballot box in those constituencies.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally immoral. And I think Adam is really right about what he said.
Oh, thank goodness.
You're right.
Thank you.
And I like the passion that you said.
Minutes.
That if whatever colour they were, they shouldn't be hanging around schools. Nobody should hang around schools. I have had kids. It's a horrible place.
Yeah.
It's a horrible place. And anyway, they're not, those people who are hanging around, they're not looking at those children as potential. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. They're not looking at potential, sex objects. They're looking at them as future wives.
Or current wives.
I just made current wives. As current wives.
Thank you.
Was it a joke?
What we've seen from
notice that was a joke?
Oh, you haven't been funny all evening.
What we've seen from the grooming...
No, I haven't.
That
was a joke.
From the rape gang scandal is that they don't see these children as wives. They see them as subhuman. And, that's part of the cultural problem. I just think this is absolutely disgusting. And I think people are right to be asking serious questions about, how this is good for the country.
But that's what you always say. You're always shocked at this. I'm shocked that kids.
I am. I'm shocked that it can. I'm shocked that anybody who questions it is dismissed as racist.
Yes.
I was looking at the Facebook groups for some of they're in Altrincham as well. There's parents are alarmed. The schools sent out letters to the parents saying, "Oh, make sure your children travel in groups and aren't wearing the hide the school uniform." And you've taken all these steps to try and minimise the risk of them being raped by somebody that Labour's put there. Yeah. And it's disgusting. And the parents are posting saying, I'm worried about this. And then people are posting underneath, oh, this sounds like you might be prejudiced. It's like prejudiced. Yeah. This is children at risk.
Yes, but you should not be shocked because this has been going on for 20, 30 years since Tony Blair, since they let me in the country 25 years ago. They would just let me come into the country without any kind of...
It seems to have got worse in the last 10 years, though.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's certainly, people are now looking at it more. Now that we've got free speech on social media, people are allowed to look at it more. Moving on, we've got the Sunday Telegraph now with the news that civil servants get 20% of their time paid to work on far-left divisive gender ideology. I mean, surely this is proof we need to slash the size of the government.
Yes, this is in the Sunday Telegraph, which is £4.50 on, or maybe it's £4. People want to know about that.
They want to know the story.
They want to know HMRC, which is the people who do the taxes, His Majesty's Royal something.
Revenue and Customs.
Revenue and Customs, right. Staff given 1 day off a week to promote gender ideology. And so they're looking to hire some LGBTQ+ role, and that person can have 1 day working on supporting, LGBT stuff. But this is just one job.
Well, it's like being gay or a drag queen or whatever got to do with tax.
Exactly. Now, Donald Trump, when he takes over this country, will fire those people like he's done in America. He said,
out of a cannon.
No, he said anyone who is an a DEI or a DIE, whatever they call it in this country, is going to be out of a job. But this is just one department, one role in a department. It's not a guy who's sitting there inputting things. They don't get to take off 1 day.
But this is a pattern that's repeated across the public sector, and to be honest, in the private sector a lot as well.
But it's making it seem like anybody who's going to work for HMRC is going to be given 1 day off a week, and that's not true. It is outrageous. You are right to be outraged by this.
I feel like...
But it's not like every person going into a job. I don't think. Did you read the story?
Are gay people not allowed to be in HMRC? What's the problem? Like, is it just...
No.
This has just got nothing to do with the job. This is like promoting gender ideology or whatever, and it's like that's got nothing to do with tax.
Just
do the... Like, nobody cares. Nobody cares if you're gay or, if you like
whatever
calling yourself Susan or whatever. Do whatever makes you happy. But do the job. Anyway, moving on.
the
We've got
Sunday
Mail on
Telegraph
Sunday
made
now,
it seem
and
like
universities
anybody's
shut up.
been hired.
The universities have found a new way to be...
But that's an important point.
Lewis, we've only got like a minute. We've got to fit another
cares?
story.
Who cares?
This is an important story.
This is
We've
more
got the Mail
important.
on
We gotta get it
Sunday
right.
now, and universities have found a new way to be inclusive with extremely racist exam policies that assume that ethnic minorities can't pass exams, Adam. This seems very inclusive.
This is very patronising, isn't it? This is the Mail of Sunday. The headline reads, top universities to offer inclusive assessments for minority groups in a bid to improve exam results. Now, this is interesting to me because when I was growing up, all the clever kids were the Asian ones. The parents were always like, you need to be a doctor, you need to be a lawyer. It was always the white kids were like, oh, I just want to do arts and stuff. So I don't know why this is even a problem. I think this should really highlight...
So they don't need the help, is what you're saying?
I don't think we need the help. It's very... And also, who wants to... Like, this should be basically be like, look, if you can't hack at university, no matter where you're from, maybe you should get an apprenticeship and maybe you shouldn't do your gender ideologies course or anything like that. And also, think about, like, if they do start doing these things like open textbook exams and all these sort of stuff, then think of the stigma about that. Like, oh, he's an engineer, but he's an open textbook engineer. Like, it's...
Exactly, yeah. It's going to just drag down. It's going to put a question mark over the achievements of other people from that demographic group.
You're right, but they don't care.
Thank you. That's twice you said that this show.
Yeah, okay. But the point is, it has to do with the centralisation of Britain, where the money for these universities, including the Russell Group, they all come from the state.
Yeah,
they all come from
Qatar
the state.
sometimes.
Yeah, okay, sometimes for an extra building or something. But the truth is that. What is the truth? The truth is...
What is the point?
The point is that they're getting money from what we would call in America the federal government, so they have to obey the rules. And when Donald Trump becomes Prime Minister of Britain, okay...
I'm sure he'd appoint you.
He will say, you know what, we're eliminating this. If you're a university, you can get your own money.
Good point. Still to come.
Is that a good
why
point?
You don't need to worry about dementia if you're stupid, and why you should watch what your wife is posting on social media if you're a mafia kingpin. See you in a moment.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
First, mate, we had lockdowns. Then we had soaring energy costs. Then we had a hike in national insurance for employers. Then we had soaring wage costs. And now the government expects people like you to monitor what people say in boozers. And if you don't, you might get sued. I bet you feel like saying cheers to them, don't you?
Look, it just looks like another war on pubs. You know, remember they tried to stop smoking outside as well. Luckily, they rethought that. But look, we've got everything stacked against us, Martin. And the last thing I need to do is go and get in people's conversations. At the end of the day, a pub is like an extension to your home. You know, it's a public house. Friends go to speak. Friends go to meet, unwind after work. It's none of my business what you're talking about. Any good publican, and myself included, anyone that was rude to anyone or on purpose, they want to offend people or they want to dig people out, antagonise them, of course I'm going to step in and say, behave yourself or you go. But look, how can I be on social media talking about everything, transgender, immigration, and people not be allowed to do that at the bar or do that at the table of a pub? It's ridiculous. And these ministers really do need to sort of look at this legislation and see where it could lead, because I'm not going to stop anyone speaking in my pub. Again, if they're trying to antagonise people or they're rude or trying to start trouble, they get thrown out the front door, and any publican worth their salt is going to do that as well. But we're not there to police people's conversations.
GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking, this is the nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them. They catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners. We've got the Sunday Telegraph now with the news that dementia hits clever people harder.
Yes.
That's good news for you, Lewis.
Yeah, it is really good. I'm not feeling a thing. Anyway, dementia. It's true. This is in the Sunday Telegraph, which costs £4.
We've only got 3 minutes.
Or £4. So what? Anyway, so this is research published in BMJ. It said that dementia diagnosis decreased life expectancy every year of education a person has received. So the more education you have, the more you're going to die sooner.
Oh,
Well, basically, who are the people who have dementia? They're people who have been sitting there eating like vegetable oils years ago. Number one.
What's that got to do with being clever? I thought you said clever people didn't eat seed oils.
They're not clever. They've just been to university. But back in the day, clever people ate corn oil, and they wouldn't eat fat, tallow, whatever.
Adam, are you still tethered to reality?
Yes. However, though, Leo, I am going to now do my impression of Lewis for the rest of the show. Lewis, you're wrong. This is not... Of course dementia hits clever people harder. The world's at war. Labour's doing everything wrong. We're actually... You're surprised by dementia? Of course smart people want dementia to go down because stupid people are not getting Alzheimer's.
But why are they not getting Alzheimer's?
Because you don't understand. That's such a Lewis thing to say. Asking questions like, why are they doing this? It's about the world. When Trump becomes the Prime Minister, things are going to become better.
Yes. Well, I guess it's similar to the thing that people with small feet have less of a problem with athlete's foot.
That's such a Leo thing to say, Leo. People with small feet. What's going on?
It's also he's missing the point. The point is that we've got.
Don't give my impression of you doing me.
We've got to eliminate carbohydrates, eliminate all kinds of sugars, eliminate seed oils.
There's actually some truth in that. So dementia is now seen as the sort of another form of diabetes.
Type 3 diabetes.
Type 3 diabetes. We've got the I Weekend now, and it looks like the gender pay gap is real, but only when you're paying for school uniforms, Adam.
Yeah. So this is on the I Weekend. Very quickly, the headline does read: parents still spending £30 more on girls' school uniform than boys. Now, I'm going to be very quick on this. Would this be a headline if it costs slightly more for boys' school uniforms than it did for girls? I don't think so. I think, and what's the ideal scenario in this the case? Okay, if it was parents are spending £5 more on the discrepancy between uniforms, is that going to become a news story? And then you look at like the amount of polls they put, and the ONS have done surveys on this, and it sounds like a lot of money which could have gone into subsidising 30 quid's worth of school uniforms for girls.
But it also could just be that girls are fussier about their school uniforms. They're like, no, I want the fancy one.
Yeah, and they want to pay more money. But this is total. It's like the old thing they used to say in America, you know, where
if it was £500 more, I'd understand. But it's 30 quid.
Do I really sound that way?
You do. Yeah. You do.
Wow, that's horrible.
It's been very overbearing for the entire show, Lewis.
I know. I've been really bad.
Anyway, the show is nearly over, so let's take another quick look at Sunday's front pages. The Sunday Express has National Show of Unity over tax disaster. That's the farmers protesting. The Sunday Times has Southport, the fatal errors. The Mail on Sunday has Strictly stars vile sexual jab to dancer. Just sounded like a joke to me. The Observer has move closer to Europe, not Trump, says Starmer. The Telegraph has Reeves at war with Labour blockers. The Sun has Holly's kidnap bid tears. And that's it for tonight's show. Thank you to my guests Lewis and Adam. I'll be back here tomorrow night at 11 p.m. with Simon Evans and Kerry Marks. And if you're watching the 5 a.m. repeat, then stay tuned for breakfast. Hope to see you tomorrow night. Good night.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good evening. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. It's going to stay quite changeable over the next couple of days with some outbreaks of heavy rain and some showers and some strong winds too, although there will perhaps be some glimmers of sunshine in the middle. We have this weather front situated out to the west of the UK at the moment. That pushes its way eastwards through the rest of this evening, bringing some quite heavy downpours, particularly to parts of northern England and Scotland, and this perhaps turning to sleet and snow over any high ground. Some outbreaks of showery rain across parts of Wales and England, but this generally a little lighter brighter and more scattered than further north. Some clear skies developing behind, and that will likely turn those temperatures quite chilly overnight, dropping below zero across parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland. So there may be some ice around to start on Sunday. It will be a bit of a cloudier start, though, across parts of Wales and southern England through Sunday morning. We've got this area of heavy rain arriving across the very far southwest, so a damp start to the day for Devon and Cornwall. For parts of Northern Ireland and southern parts of Scotland, a dry and bright start to the morning with some sunshine around. But further north, there will still be some showers, and again, these likely falling as sleet and snow, mainly over the high ground, but perhaps to lower levels for a time. As we then go through the rest of Sunday morning, that area of rain pushes its way northwards, spreading across much of the UK by the time we get to the afternoon. Some quite heavy downpours likely, and some blustery showers following in behind on that brisk southwesterly wind. That southwesterly wind does draw in some slightly milder air, so temperatures in the far southwest turning a little milder, 9 to 11 degrees, but elsewhere around about average, so 6 to 8 degrees quite widely. To start on Monday then, we have got low pressure across the UK, so heavy, blustery showers still feeding in from the southwest. These likely to merge to longer spells of rain across northern parts, and plenty of showers as well across the far north of Scotland. So an unsettled start to the new working week, and that theme continues through much of next week. However, there are some hints that we'll see high pressure building and turning a little bit chillier by next weekend.
We can expect clear skies, leading to a light and warm day ahead. Lovely. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
This is the final week to grab your chance to win our biggest cash prize so far, £50,000 in tax-free cash.